All right, in episode 2, we have a longtime 9 to 5 sports podcast listener, and as well as an Antioch and Little Goal veteran and all-star. Now the head coach of the JV basketball team at Luray High School, Tyler Parker. What's going on, Tyler?
Hey man, nothing much. Just trying to stay in there in this day and age.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop calling you Tyler. By the way, that's gonna be the last time I call you Tyler because we all just know you as Park anyway. So
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
yeah,
We're in the same boat. One of my friends calls me by Jordan. I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah,
I call you Jordan every once in a while.
Yeah, but it's weird. Like everyone calls me Mercer, and then I get called Jordan by someone other than family, and it's like that's weird.
and at the school, I talked to Jordan's dad a lot, and he said, well, there I am saying Jordan, but he says Jordan. I'm like, I have to take a second there. Like, who you talking about?
Yeah, Jordan who?
Yeah.
But before we get going, this might be the most important part of this entire podcast. I want you to know that the Philadelphia Eagles accounted for over a quarter of the wins that the Washington football team got en route to the NFC East title. So, your comment.
Not happy. Not happy. I mean, I was actually, my Eagles fans might get mad, but I was actually happy for Washington to be honest with you. Like Ron, his story, Alex and his story. I mean, how can you not get behind
Yeah.
him if you're a sports fan? So
That's
I was
a Cowboy.
really happy for them. After I knew, okay, Eagles, let's get a good draft pick.
For sure.
But actually, after I knew our hopes were done, I was happy for Washington.
So, what was your opinion on Peterson's move there in the final week?
I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, is he giving up, or is he playing for the draft picks also, or is Carson really as bad as the stories are? I mean, a lot of people say he's not a good teammate or uncoachable. I don't see it, but we're not there to practice every day either. So
Right.
No
Well,
bias.
joke's on him. He ain't getting that draft pick now.
Yeah. No bias.
Draft pick.
No bias.
Yeah.
I think it was a great move by Peterson. He did the right thing. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
absolutely.
No bias at all.
Well, man, how's the season going? How's the team looking?
The team is looking good. I mean, we've had a lot of bumps along the way. We've had a lot of guys go the best way I can say it. I mean, we've had 2 guys that were pulled up that can play, 10th graders, 9th graders. So there I had to start over. Then I had a couple guys, 2 guys quit that were pretty good, and then another guy that we had to let go. But that's 5 guys that can play, and losing 5 guys that can play is never easy. So we're trying to find our identity right now. We're struggling to get a win. We're 0-4 currently, but that's not on the kids really. We had to quarantine for 10 days. So having no practices for 10 days, we come back, we play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, lose all 3 of those. And without any practices, we're just trying to coach on the fly and play on the fly. And it's ugly at times. I'm not going to lie to you. And
That's tough.
Yeah, that's the gauntlet.
And we play Monday, so no more, we didn't practice today, obviously, but we'll have a practice on Tuesday to fix the stuff. And it's not X's and O's because we drilled that so hard at the beginning. It's right now just making the fundamental plays. A lot of turnovers, which is expected for, 8th, 9th, 10th graders. Just struggling hitting the rim right now, to be honest, from outside. So it's just really about getting in the gym, getting shots up, getting a feel for the basketball. Really, it's not the X's and O's. We're pretty good defensively, but just struggling to score at the moment.
Yeah, like you said, you talked about being in quarantine. How different is it coaching with COVID? I know last year's full gyms, just didn't have to separate on the bench. Now I know Rockingham County, I think you guys are going to play East Rock, correct?
We did on Saturday.
Yeah, and you had to wear masks, or was that at home?
We had to wear a mask, yeah.
Yeah, how different is that, like coaching with all that and having to wear masks during games?
I'll be honest with you. There's multiple times, and you guys know him. He's a good friend, Nick Clark. He helps me. It's multiple times I look at him right before, there's no tip-off anymore, but right before game time, it's like, wow, this doesn't even feel like a game day. Like the fans, if you're wondering if we miss you, we miss you. I mean, it's different. It is nothing. It's just quiet as a mouse. it doesn't feel like game day at all. And you don't get much time to prepare before games now because away schools don't want you arriving too early. You know, they want you arriving just in time to get changed and on the court. It's no pregame speeches. It's no prepping. It's almost like you have to do it on the bus there. And then at home, it's you don't have it's just so much where it's different this year. It really is. And the masks, playing with the masks on on Saturday, the boys were like, "Wow, this is tough. It's really hard." And it looks hard. I mean, I've played in the day, and I couldn't imagine playing with a mask on. I'm not sure if I would, honestly. But and that's the problem East Rock's having. We talked to their administration and good friends with their coaches, and a lot of teams are backing out from them.
Yep.
And I hate that for them because, you know, we all know East Rock's a powerhouse.
For sure.
And start to wonder there, you know, are they backing out because of the mask, or are they backing out because they don't want to face them?
They see a good opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, we can just opt out of that.
Yeah, but it's definitely different this year, you know. Taking temperatures and questions and all that stuff is way different. The fans, I think, is the biggest issue. You can hear everything, so you know, parents, if they're not happy with you, you can definitely hear it, and they can definitely hear you if you're not happy with the team. And there's definitely times where I have to lower my voice because I'm trying to scream and yell, but you know, I don't want to cause any conflict or anything. So it's definitely different this year. Like I said, this really just doesn't feel like you're playing the game until almost you're halfway through the first or second quarter. And you're like,
right.
And maybe that's what the boys are thinking too, because we're finding ourselves getting down early, 17-5, 20-6, you know, and then it's like, oh, hey, we got a game. Let's try to play. And then you're crawling back. And I think that's where we're at right now, is just finding our identity on offense and how we can score and get going early. So it's difficult. Coaching's hard this year. Coaching's hard, period. I mean, any coach out there, kudos to you. It's not easy.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you talk to athletes and say, man, you weren't ready to come to play today. You weren't ready when you stepped on the court. A lot of them would deny it, but I think it's just a force of habit almost with nobody in the building. It feels like a scrimmage, and it's tough to get up for that. And, you know, especially back in our day when we had the student sections going, it was an exciting place to play. And it was like that for JV too. Like guys would show up early enough to be there for JV, and they would kind of jeer the other JV teams. I know that's kind of bad to say, but I was bad for that. I would get on some JV kids too.
I remember.
I'd let them know, like, hey man, just because you're on JV doesn't mean that that you get off easy.
Yeah.
I remember multiple times on the Sexy Six when we would show up early for a varsity game and catch ourselves in a 50-50 JV game, and we're
Yeah.
You know, I remember multiple times we did that in our alma mater where we went Page. I mean, our JV teams were good back then, you know.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, what made you want to be a coach, man? What got you into the coaching realm?
Man, if I'm being honest, Coach Purdom, he's definitely a guy to look up to. He's amazing. I hope he's doing well. I know he's been going through a lot. I hope he's doing well, and I miss him. And really, it's just as athletes, it's hard to let go. You know, honestly, and then you start here. I'm starting to tear up, but it's hard to let go and leave the game behind, honestly. And I catch myself probably more than others just talking about the good old days. And I didn't want to lose it, man. I don't want to lose that competitive fire. And I also thought that I was the right person for it. Some guys are not made for coaching, and some guys are. And I have a couple friends on the high school team I played with that I thought that would do very well as coaches, and some maybe not so much. But I thought I was a guy who had been through a lot in his career to take what I knew and from the coaches I had and give back really to the kids. And it started in rec league, and then be honest with you, man, rec league is very, very fun to coach, and the kids are hilarious, and I was given a great opportunity at Luray. I'm good friends with the 8th grade coach there, Stevie Owens, and he actually was giving me an opportunity that he was going to step down, and he was going to let me coach the 8th grade team. And I was like, man, awesome, let's do it. And well, not at first. I was like, well, Luray, I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, let's do it. I talked to my wife a little bit, and I was like, let's do it. And then when I go there for the 8th grade job, they were like, hey, our JV coach just stepped down. Would you be interested in doing that? And Stevie's like, well, I'll stay around if you want to take that job. And who was getting a promotion before I was even hired. So so I kind of was like, yeah, let's do it. And I kind of knew the varsity coach at Luray. I had heard of him, EMU guy, was on the staff with Kerry Keys, who's at East Rock. So they're cut from the same cloth, really. And I was like, man, here's a guy that's got EMU ties. Here's a guy who knows a lot about college basketball, who played college basketball. And I was like, it's a great opportunity to learn from this guy and have some ties into the college world. Because to be honest with you, my goal is not to coach at JV or high school level. I want to move on and move forward, just like anybody in any job, really. So I thought it was a great opportunity, and I thought I knew a lot about the game. I've seen the game from a lot of different angles, starting, not starting, not playing a whole lot, being the guy, not being the guy. It was my high school career was difficult, to say the least. But just doing your job and knowing your role as a player is what I'm trying to teach today to the kids.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot to unpack with what you just said there, and I'll let Mercer ask you about the Luray dynamic, coaching at Luray but playing at Page. But I want to get started on. You talked about you've seen the game from a lot of different angles. You grew up watching your older brothers, TJ and Trev, and both were very good players. TJ ended up going on playing at Ferrum College, and what was that like growing up watching, again, like you said, them sometimes coming off the bench, sometimes starting, TJ being the man there for a little while, Trev being the man. What did that do for you as a player, a young player?
Man, it was amazing. I mean, I don't tell them guys enough, but I love my brothers, and I miss watching them play. They were phenomenal. And TJ was the guy there for a little bit on his team, and he had a lot of good players. And the cool thing is Purdom was there for us all. So Purdom's got a tie to our family that is very special to us, and we love that guy. And like I said, Trevor, to be honest, was probably the best Parker, if I can say that respectfully. And I mean, we all know what he's been through, and we won't get into that, but he was a great player. And to watch those guys and to play with them on the daily, they really groomed my game, and they made mistakes along the way that I was like, hey, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do those mistakes, but I also want to take what they showed me, and my dad also. I mean, there was a lot of times we played 2-on-2 in the driveway, and it was kind of dad and me being the youngest and versus those two, and you just pick up on mannerisms and how they act and how not to act for them to. I know there was Purdom was different 20, a long time ago when TJ played. He was pre-kids. He didn't have kids, so he was a little more aggressive, I'll say. So I knew, okay, don't get on Purdom's bad side early. And then Trevor and Coach had some problems too. So when I got there, I'm like, man, is this guy even going to like me? He's got a bad taste. He's had a bad taste, but yeah, those guys are good basketball players, and we come from a family of good basketball players, and I couldn't be more proud of them, really.
Yeah, you talked about Purdom there earlier. We talked to Cole last week, and we asked him what his favorite Purdom story was. What's yours?
Playing or just favorite?
Anything. Playing, locker room.
You can roll them both if you want.
Roll them both, yeah.
Playing, I would say probably we were at Riverheads, and we were really good my senior year. I'll say, there's been a lot of good Page teams, but This one, we didn't have really the talent that the other teams had, I'd say, but we had two guys that had played on varsity for 4 years. We had a guy who was grooming into being one of the best ever at Page, and that was difficult for me. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I'd say the best Purdom story was we were at Riverheads, and we were dominating the district. We were beating East Rock, who was dominating. We were beating everybody, and we were down at halftime. Not by much. I'd say less than 10. And at Riverheads, if you don't know, it's a long walk to their locker room.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And some of us jogged back, some of us ran, but there was a couple that were walking back, and in Purdom, you could hear them coming from down the hall. And I was in the locker room, and you could hear hollering and screaming and maybe a few curse words. And next thing you know, he comes in and he slams down on the recycling bin. He's throwing recycling bins and trash is going everywhere. And he's screaming and hollering. And that was very funny afterwards, because we ended up getting the win. And he kind of gave us that spark right there to do that. And I see that in myself today. If you were to ask my players, you would definitely see that spark trying to get a little something extra out of your players is what he did best, is what Purdom did best. So I try to do that often. But that's probably my favorite Purdom story. There's another one at practice, and he sees me, and Coach Rod, that's at Page now, he was on the staff. And there was one day at practice, and Joel, a good friend of ours, was the youngster of our team. And he made a mistake. He went to the wrong spot and made a mistake. And me, the jokester, I was kind of like, Joel, what are you doing? What are you doing? Kind of getting on him a little bit. Well, like the very next play, I'm running around on the baseline trying to get an open shot against the zone defense, and Purdom blows the whistle, and he comes down on me. He's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And there was a couple extra words and that myself and Purdom used, but I was like, Coach, I'm just roaming around. I'm just trying to get open. And him and Coach Rod, to this day, I mean, they busted out laughing when I just looked and was kind of like, "Hey, I'm just trying to get open." And then so every time he sees me, he's like, "Hey, you just roaming around?" That's another good story. But the older ones back in the day, man, when TJ played, like I said, he was a different guy then, pre his kids. So I think when he had kids, his heart got a little softer. But he was a feisty little fella back in the day.
Yeah, from what I've heard, my granddad was the same way, especially with the grandkids. Me and Seth coming through. He was a much different person while at Spotswood to what he is now at Page. He still is not afraid to get up in your face a little bit, but has
I played Coach
definitely
Comer.
become lenient.
He's a good
Yeah,
guy.
he did.
I like your grandfather. He actually likes me too, surprisingly. So
It's kind of tough to get on his good side sometimes, but a big reason that we started this podcast is because of what we talk about in our friends group a lot is that there are so many good players in our area that are exciting, that are going to go on to get bigger looks and things of that nature. And you're one of the guys that has the best knowledge base of all of that. Who's good where, and I think coaching helps you with that. But this is more just kind of an opinion question. Who are some of your more exciting players that you like watching in the Valley?
well, I mean, it's never bad to have a front row seat to watch Tyler Nickel play.
Yeah.
It's good. I caught myself last year was just like in awe. I'm on the bench as an assistant for varsity, so I'm just like a couple times I'm like looking around like, dang, this guy can play. And I talk about, last night I had Adam Campbell over and he played with me, and I'm like, hey, we had a good team, but I don't know if we can hold that guy down back in the day. I mean, East Rock has always good players because they have good coaches up there. But from Page, I mean, they got a couple guys too that can play, and I'm proud to be from Page, and so they have two guys that can really play, and Kanan and Ricky, and those guys are dominating the district right now. Also, they're 5-0, so hats off to them. Luray is Luray is more a football school, and that's hard.
Mhm.
That's hard to swallow. And I'll go into that in a second, if you don't mind. But Luray, we have a lot of big, strong athletes, but not so much as on the basketball court. We look physical, we look good defensively, but on offense, it's like we don't have a Tyler Nickel, or we don't have a Ricky Campbell who can go and get us a bucket. Honestly,
Mhm.
because I know there's times that Keys and Rod's probably like, go get me a bucket. We
Yeah.
really don't have that guy. We got to run sets and plays to get other guys open and get good looks, and that's different, because I played at Page with guys who could get buckets. So you kind of were like, hey, get out the way. And I'd like to even toot my own horn and say on some nights I was that guy. So I could really score, what I think back in the day. But I'd say, Nickel, Ricky, Kanan, Clark always has a good guy that's pretty good.
The Pacheco kid from Spotswood is
Yeah.
legitimate too. I don't know if you've seen him or
play.
not.
I have not seen him play, but I've heard a lot about him. Because I'm pretty sure, isn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah.
Is he a junior this year, or is he a senior?
He's been there a
I
couple
think
years.
he's a senior.
Yeah, I would say a senior.
I was thinking maybe a senior, maybe a junior, but he's been there. I remember last year he was tough.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the big thing last year. It was a billing between, especially with it being Spotswood East Rock, being Pacheco versus Nickel, and that was a cool matchup to watch. I know WHSV ran the highlights for a little while.
And I know Harrisonburg always got good players, but I don't think they have a season this year, so you don't hear much about them. But
Yeah.
they always got guys that can play, and young guys, 10th graders that can play. And then you hear about them for
sure.
Just like Nickel. I mean, you've heard about Nickel since he was a freshman, playing in a state championship freshman year. I think state championship sophomore or junior and senior years. I mean, he can play at the highest level, and he's getting a lot of good looks. And like I said, that's fun. It's kind of fun going against him, and that's one thing too. A lot of guys don't want to play him this year. Luray is not running away from East Rock, and we've taken our fair share of spankings from him. But we want to play. We want to play the best. Mask on, mask off, helmet. I don't care. We're going to play them. Just so, I mean, and I don't want to jinx anything, but who doesn't want to look back in a few years and the varsity guys say, hey, I played against a guy who's potentially in the league, because I think Tyler Nichols got the body and the jumper to make it that far. I mean, you don't want to jinx anything, but he definitely does. So we want to play them as many times as we can.
Yeah, it's crazy. You said Luray it's a football school now, which I agree with. But back when I was in school there, it was kind of a mixture of both. You had your football players play, and then they played basketball too. And then you had some guys that just solely played basketball. It's crazy. So back to Luray, you're coaching at the rival school now. I mean, how weird is that? Since you go into Page, and like when you play Page, like Page Luray games before COVID, they're nuts. Like we all played in them. It feels like the whole county comes out, the gym's full, it's loud. Like, how weird is that?
It's super weird. And if I could touch on the football thing first, I mean, it is, and I love football. I played football my whole life. I love it. If I'm being honest, it's probably my favorite. But the guys at Luray, oh my Lord, they love it. I mean, they are ate up with football, and that is kudos to the staff, Jeffries. I mean, they're doing something there that these kids are freaking excited for.
They're bought in.
They all they talk about is weightlifting and football plays and this and that. And I'm like, guys, do you not realize that it's basketball season? So sometimes as a coach, it's really frustrating because yes, Luray is very good at football. They always have been, and this year I think they have a good shot to play for the big one. So it's very frustrating right now in the heart of basketball when you got guys that are attending workouts and all they talk about is football, this, football, that. So sometimes it's frustrating because I know at Page, if it was football season, it was football season. You weren't allowed at basketball open gyms, or you wouldn't play on Friday. and vice versa. If it was basketball season and Coach Purdom called us in the weight room for football, you were getting a chewing. So it's different at Luray, and that was hard to adjust to. At first, I was like, man, it's kind of cool how everybody kind of works together. Nobody's against each other. And I think it's great for kids to work out. Do not get me wrong, but lifting on game days is something I can't get on board with. And it's a struggle at Luray because, like I said, those guys are football, and it shows on the basketball court. I mean, we're tackling guys, we're getting on the floor, we're diving, getting after. And we can't seem to just simply put the ball in the hoop. So it's definitely different. But the rivalry part, oh man, it is crazy. We haven't played Page yet this year. We're scheduled to, I think, Friday. So I'll be curious to see how it is with just 25 people in the stands, because I'm used to, like you said, it crowded, screaming, hollering. It's the Page and Luray is what you play sports for. And as a player, you don't want to look forward. You could be playing East Rock and Riverheads on Monday and Wednesday, but you got that Luray game on Friday that you're really looking forward to, and you don't ever want to look past an opponent. But and it's different for me, because on a personal standpoint, I think it's safe to say that when I played, Luray hated Tyler Parker. They hated me, and rightfully so. I was arrogant with the social media nowadays. You talk your smack on social media, and then you get it paid for if you don't play good. So, and to go to Luray, it was difficult. Oh my gosh, there was many nights where I was like, "Am I doing the right thing, or my Page people going to, disown me or not like me anymore?" Because I have relationships with fans that are in their 50s and 60s that watch me play, and those guys and girls really that are like, "What are you doing? Why are you going? You traitor, blah blah blah." And
have you gotten any of those comments seriously? Like, I know people joke around about it, but like, have people gotten on you?
I don't think anyone seriously has gotten on me. It's a lot of joking, I think, because at the end of the day, they'll joke with you, but then at the end they're also sincere, like, "Hey, you're doing a great thing." I had multiple.
Right.
We lost to Page twice last year, and I had multiple Page fans come to me on the bench after our game. I'd go to the locker room, give the post game talk, and come back out and be an assistant. And there were guys and girls coming to me and saying what a wonderful job I did, and how they could see it felt like a mini Purdom on the other side, and how I was stomping and hollering and that.
I was going to ask if you had the foot stomp going.
I did develop the foot stomp, and Mac, my wife, she told me last year she's like, "Honey, you got the stomp down to the T," and I catch myself doing that a lot. Like I said, that's just one of the many things I picked up from him, but it's genuine love, I think, from Page. I'm proud to be from Page. I'm proud of Page basketball and Page sports, and I think Keith Cubbage said it best. If you really get to the nitty gritty, Page is all around probably the best school. I mean, if I'm being honest, they're competing for state championships year after year after. Ty, am I wrong? I mean, you were part of,
Merce, you hear that?
you were a part of that.
Mercer?
No comment. No comment.
And I'll say in the early 2000s, Luray was a good basketball team. I don't know much about their baseball and football back then, but seems like here in after 2010, Page was competing for state championships in basketball. Softball has won how many in the last 10 years?
A lot.
Luray, or excuse me, the baseball team at Page, Ty was a part of a state championship, and I think played for maybe a couple more. And then you got guys right after you that were playing for a couple more.
Mm-hmm.
I think your grandfather was lucky to win one there 2 or 3 years ago. So
17, I think.
yeah. And I think I read a statement from Keith Cubbage saying that all around Page Page is up there, and their football team has been bad. I played for some bad football teams, but here recently it seems like they're winning 6 or 7 games a year. Not really getting the late playoff push, but at least getting those wins built for a program for the future. So, I'm proud to be from Page. I'm happy for those guys. I'm happy for Coach Rod, and they're winning games. So I still got
See that, Marsh? He's got the bulldog on his chest, but underneath that,
In the heart.
he still
I
bleeds
get
blue,
it.
baby.
Yeah, I get it.
And I would be lying to this day, and I hope Coach Huff, the varsity, and my friends at Luray that I've built don't get upset. But I catch myself today because with COVID right now, really we're not playing with varsity. It's just we play our game at 6 o'clock and we're done, so we don't have to. So I'm catching myself having time to get on Facebook Live and watch Page varsity. If I'm lying, I have not missed a Page varsity game yet live, and I catch myself watching those guys because I'm kind of a fan. I'm excited for them. They have a great team. They have a great opportunity to do good things. Luray's only played 1 game varsity. We have a lot of good talent. I'm excited for them. I love all those guys. I love Coach Huff and what he's doing. And I hope we beat Page if we ever have a chance to play. I hope we
Love
do.
that.
But even after last year, I hope we beat Page when we played Page. But after our season, which we didn't do very good last year, varsity wise, we didn't make postseason or anything. So postseason, I'm at the Page games, rooting those guys on. So it's hard to deal with, and you get those looks. I know one time last year we played East Rock, and varsity for some reason didn't play, and I actually had time to drive to Page and make a post-season game. I believe it was like the first round of playoffs or something, and there was people in the packed stands at Page. Page fans are wild. They were giving me the looks and the talks and like, what are you doing here? And I'm just a fan. I'm a fan of Page County, and I'm a fan of sports anywhere, really. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm a sports guy. So if Luray was doing good, I'm watching them.
Marsh, you got anything else, brother?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, man. Well, Park, we really appreciate you taking the time to come on. I know we're recording this a little bit early, but you'll be our second episode, our second interview. And like we said, we've been excited to get you on. The whole dynamic of you playing at Page and coaching at Luray was a thing that we couldn't pass up talking about and getting to the people and seeing what's in your mind about it, And so, again, thank you so much for taking time and joining us on this Sunday.
No problem, man. I'm glad to be here. If you ever need me, let me know.
Will do. All right. That's Tyler Parker.